Hi, I'm Matt Reynolds, Chief Editor of Packaging World Magazine. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona today at the ISTA, that's International Safe Transit Association, ISTA Trans Forum. A lot of great presentations today, but one that really stood out was on the academic side, sort of on the incubator side, but we'll be hearing more about it soon. It's from Michigan State University. We'll hear soon from Dr. Lee and Ms. DeMario. But the two of them have been working on what you could call an AI-based consumer packaging sentiment evaluator. Basically, they're scraping Amazon and various other sites where you leave comments about a product. Thumbs up, thumbs down, 0 stars, 5 stars, that sort of thing. Sometimes with photos, sometimes with paragraphs, sometimes with just a good, bad, or the ugly. Regardless, a wide variety of different types of comments. They're able to use a tool, an AI-based tool, to extract information that allows brand owners to operationalize or actually act and take action on some of the feedback that right now is just diffuse across all of the web, but now they're able to extract it and create some really interesting direction and prescription for brands to improve their packaging and thus improve the brand and consumers' experience with the brand overall. So we'll hear from them shortly. Hope you enjoy the video. Hi, I'm Matt Reynolds, Chief Editor of Packaging World Magazine, and I'm here in Phoenix today where I saw a fascinating presentation on something called PackSense, which is being put together by Michigan State University as AI-based packaging sentiment sort of evaluator. So I'm here today with Jordan and Dr. Lee. Jordan, why don't you introduce yourself? Dr. Lee, introduce yourself, whoever wants to go first, and then we can dive right in.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan DeMario. I'm a student at Michigan State University, so go green. I have been working with Dr. Lee for the past 2 years or so on this research, and now it's kind of coming into fruition, and I'm presenting it here today at ISTA.
Good. And Dr. Lee, introduce yourself first, and what's kind of the genesis? This has to have been going on longer than revealing it today. So what's going on behind the scenes?
Okay, so my name is Uhyal Lee. I'm an assistant professor from the Scroll Packaging at MSU. So what I usually do is I try to bring some new aspect of the packaging evaluation tool that the traditional method couldn't catch up. So originally I was thinking about like a computer simulation in that level, but I realized there's some challenge because computer simulation is not fully represent what the packaging facing. So then I moved to the database one. So that's how this PackSense project started.
Okay, so what problem are you solving with this data? What is the issue in this world that PackSense is going to help address?
My understanding is actually if you find out the problem clearly, then finding solution is easy. Most of the case, we don't know what's the problem. That's kind of make a finding solution very challenging. So packaging issue is so diverse, so variations from the material, from the supply chain method, and then the way people are handled. And then traditional method cannot catch up those information well. So what we're trying to do is, because it's my personal experience, because whenever I love traveling, and then whenever I go traveling and then finding a hotel, I always check the reviews. And then, okay, because I got some very meaningful information from the hotel reviews, and why don't we grab similar idea from the packaging reviews? So that's how this project started. And then what we're trying to do is, because all the reviews are actually real cases. So by extracting some meaningful information from those reviews, we can actually catch what really happening into the real world that traditional method cannot catch up. So that's what we're trying to do throughout the review analysis, to finding something traditional method cannot find it.
Okay, so you're filling a gap that was there between traditional lab testing or field testing and the real world, which we all know behaves differently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these customer reviews they vary from good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down, to extremely nuanced, to using foul language, to having photos and not having photos. So what are you extracting from these very extremely varied and disparate reviews?
Let's take that. Yeah, so like you mentioned, consumer reviews are so varied. Some people say their entire life stories in their reviews. Other people are very vague or just basic with their reviews. And what our framework aims to accomplish is to use AI to extract the packaging related reviews. Because believe it or not, consumers do talk about packaging, whether they realize it or not. So when we use generative AI and also our rule-based AI models, we can extract specific components, conditions, severity, and emotions from online reviews. So what that means is we can figure out which components of packaging were most damaged, which components of packaging were most affected by the consumer emotions, and how strongly were they damaged. So that it's kind of two-toned in the way where we can understand what kinds of packaging were damaged, and we can also understand how consumers react to packaging.
Okay, now translate that information, that new data, to Procter and Gamble or Unilever or whomever, Kraft. How do they then make that actionable?
Yeah, so if you're from a consumer or from a company standpoint, all you would need is like your Amazon review page link. And from there, what insights you can get is you can understand which components of your packaging were breaking the most. So whether that's if you have a bottle with a pump, we can understand whether it was the pump that was breaking, the closure, the seal, the actual bottle body that was breaking, and then we can also understand how your consumers reacted to that packaging damage. So from there, we got a scale of consumer emotions. So
So you're quantifying this.
quantifying the emotion, correct, in the reviews. And when you match that with the components and the conditions that the components experience, then we can run targeted calculations to really understand where your design priorities should be.
Okay, your redesign prior choice
Yes.
specifically. Okay, now you had on stage today, and maybe we'll be able to show a quick photo. But you had I don't know if this is a real brand or just like a pilot brand or like a test, like a beta test kind of thing. I think it was Tea Tree. I know that's a true brand too.
Yes.
So what were your findings from this? This is a real world. This was something that consumers are actually opening up to varying degrees of satisfaction, let's say.
Yes.
And what did you find? What were you able to glean and extract from reviews? And from the most sophisticated to the least sophisticated reviews, photos, non-photos, that sort of thing. What did this case study tell you?
So this case study really demonstrated the importance of having a package that is one, functional, and two, durable, because those are the components that we realize that consumers care about the most. Those are the components. So specifically, like with the case study, it was the closures, pumps, and the bottles. So again, the components that reduce or impact the functionality, those are the ones that drive the most negative consumer sentiment. So those are going to be the ones that you want to prioritize for redesign. Okay,
and what does that look like? What's the action? Is it keeping the seal unbroken and maybe shipping with the entire closure and pump closure and everything separate, that the consumer then does it himself?
Yeah, so like that's one of the ideas. Our program also is able to produce a packaging recommendation that's generated from generative AI, but we engineered a prompt to give those kind of high risk areas. So in that case, you can understand, okay, if we have this many occurrences of the seal breaking, maybe you need a stronger adhesive. Maybe you need to increase the adhesive temperature to make sure it's on there better. So things like that, the generative AI can pull out and give recommendations to. And then it's also able to provide engineering references like ISTA documents, like other case studies that people have done in the past to then kind of help with that ideation and redesign.
Okay. Now, what it sounds like, though, is it could be a simple fix that might not require a total redesign, but just moving from adhesive base to ultrasonic sealing or something like that. Okay, good. Now, those are the things that you were hoping to find, but kind of extraneously to the study, I think you said there are certain failures or breakages or leakers or so on that really creates a certain emotional response that maybe you weren't expecting. So why don't you walk us through some of the unexpected things on consumer emotion that leaky packages, give us all?
Yeah, so I would say from our case study, we noticed that even though there are some damages with shipping boxes, those typically weren't as common or as frequent. And however, they still drove negative reactions. So, I mean, there's no big surprise that if your package gets damaged, consumers are going to be angry about it. But it's that certain components drive certain failures drive certain emotions or stronger emotions. So we found, kind of like I mentioned earlier, but things that affect the functionality. So for example, if a pump isn't working, all of a sudden the consumer has to take the bottle, transfer the product to another package, and that just adds a step of inconvenience that consumers honestly don't want to deal with. So I would say that was kind of the biggest takeaway is that you really want to focus on certain components that drive the strongest negative reactions to make sure that you're optimizing the most
Sure.
consumer satisfaction.
20% of the failures are causing 80% of the angst, or something
Exactly.
along
Yes.
those lines.
Yes.
So, okay, our audience, Packaging World's audience, largely brand owners, CPGs, some contract packagers, some private label folks. So if they're watching, what's one packaging change that they could realistically make? You mentioned pumps and closures. That's mostly for one category.
Mhm.
But what are some, if you can think of some of your findings, what are some areas that they should really zoom in on?
I'll take that.
So I think because of the CPG has a lot of variety of the packaging type, it's quite challenging to pick up one specific component. But one thing I can tell is because this tool, we actually strength of this tool is quantity of the data. So without this tool, I think company need to hire some like a pilot study. I don't know what they call. It's someone who put the people and then do
Sure. A pilot study?
a pilot study or there's a specific term. I
Like
just
a research group.
like focus group. I think it's
Okay.
focus group. They
There
put
we go.
some
We got
small.
there.
They have some small focus group and then kind of testing how they are using this packaging, how they apply this type of the features they implement. But in our tool, without any this type of focus group, I mean, having a focus group is time consuming and then very costly. But we can actually extract hundreds of the thousands of the data, and then from there we can find out some critical issue that connect to the packaging and then consumer usage. So from there, they will identify, this packaging change has been working or is not working. I have some story with one packaging professional. I couldn't go detail, but they actually changed some packaging, but they wonder, and that it's for consumer convenience, but they have no idea consumer actually using that feature or not.
Mhm.
And then this tool, our tool, PackSense, can easily capture if consumer really are using those type of tool. So by understanding this packaging component and how these things are working with the consumer, that is one of the strongest benefit of this tool. And then that will be a key point or critical point to develop the new packaging.
Okay, so it's the consumer research or consumer behavior feedback loop that a brand
Right.
can learn about how the product is being used and the package is being used or misused out in the wild.
Right.
Because some of these bad reviews aren't the brand's fault. It's
Right.
it's consumer mishandling.
Mhm.
So we're at an ISTA conference,
Mhm.
so a lot of what we're talking about are more traditional,
Mhm.
whether lab-based
Mhm.
or field-based studies. This is by no means meant to replace those, correct?
Mhm.
This is a
Right,
complement
right.
or an additional
Yes.
to it,
Mhm.
right? So how would you mix those together? How would this augment existing testing?
Yes, so industry standard testing standards is very important because one of the most important thing as a development stage, because this standard give the consistent condition. So by changing if the testing conditions keep changing, then we don't know because if this packaging working well because of the testing condition changing, or if the packaging itself has been some update. So this consistent testing procedure gives some benefit of identify if when they develop the packaging, if their packaging is working or not. So I think from the product development side, that will be very helpful. Our end, because we need data, we need a consumer review data. So our end is more likely like a backup data once they launch it. Alternatively, we still can use our tool to see if I need to develop the new shop bottle. Instead of just starting the scratch, I can just scraping other competitor design and then see how different designs are reacting. So that will give some better starting point of that. But to verify that one, still ISTA or just typical standard testing standards still required.
Okay. Anything I'm missing? Anything that I should be asking about? Again, my audience mostly brand owners, CPGs. I believe one of your future employers probably watching right now. Sorry, she's spoken for in terms of employment. But what am I missing? What is the big picture takeaway that you want to make sure our viewers hear about or read about?
You wanna?
I think just that one of the biggest takeaways is that there's another case study we did for a product that was more consumer centrically designed from the start. and that had a significant more increase in consumer satisfaction.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways here is when companies design their packaging with the consumer in mind from the start, that pays off because consumers end up writing good reviews about how satisfied they are with the package.
And good reviews that actually generates further purchases, right?
Exactly. So it benefits the consumer and it also benefits the business as well. So I think this tool just helps amplify that.
And if any of our readers want to find out more, learn more about PacSense, do I have that right? Do they go to the msu.edu? Where do we find more information?
Oh, actually, we have a separate website.
Okay, good.
Currently, demo version is available, so you cannot actually download your Amazon link, but we already embedded one of the demo as an example. So if you go to the pacsense.net, then you should be able to, there's a demo button, then you can see already like a pre-implemented data you can play with that. What kind of data you can see, what kind of control you can have, those type of things.
Okay, great. Well, both of you, thank you so much for your time today. We are in the middle of what would be a happy hour downstairs, so we're extracting them from the really fun part to do this. So thanks again for your time. Our readers appreciate it, and look for yourselves in the pages of Packaging World magazine before too long.
Okay, thank you for having us.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.